So my favorite segment, as you know, as a religious
Yes.
listener, Mike,
Yes.
this is my favorite
I
segment.
have.
This is
Sorry,
where you can get
I
games
have
for
your
free.
logo
We tell you which
tattooed
games are
on my
free.
butt. I'll send a photo if you want to share it with your listeners.
Well, that's good because I'm thinking about
Damn
changing the
it.
logo. So
Tattoo over it.
so we always start with Epic Games, as they usually have
stuff.
literally just free games. So this week, Abzu, which is a very well regarded game, is
Nice.
free. Rising Storm 2 Vietnam is free this week as well. And next week they've
Cool.
announced that
That
Amnesia,
wasn't the
A Machine
us.
for Pigs, and Kingdom New Lands. Just let me finish. Amnesia, A Machine for Pigs, and Kingdom New Lands
Nice.
is free next week. So keep an eye out.
No, I was going to say.
those.
Sorry,
what were you going to
sorry.
say, Mike?
I
before
love
you rudely
interrupting you.
interrupted me?
It's just. I feel
It's
like
real fun.
every time I interrupt you, an achievement pops above my head, and I just get that instant hit of dopamine, and it just encourages me to do it over and over and over again.
Yes, it's my thing of how many times and this is how many weeks before you're invited again. Were you
I was actually going to
one
talk
of the
about
games when
Amnesia.
you
So
interrupted me?
I have played Amnesia, and
Mm.
there was a really cool video that I watched on Ars Technica. It's the War Stories series, and that's the one where they talk about, they get developers of a whole bunch of different games, and they sort of talk about a challenge that they faced and how they overcame their challenge. And one of them was on Amnesia, and since you saw it here, and I thought it's an interesting little tidbit for someone that may not have played the game. In the game, you've got the sphere mechanic where if you do certain tasks or you see certain things or you're in the dark for too long, your insanity meter goes up, and then things start to sort of change in the game. And there were even some hints that say, certain things are harder in the game. But what the developers realized when they were building the actual game is that it was making the game hard to play and unfun when you were hitting these high levels of insanity. So what they did is they basically made it so you don't really get penalized. So the amazing thing about the game is that people try to avoid actively getting that level of scare and that fear in the game, even though there's actually no negative outcome. The game doesn't actually really change in the end. People do that to themselves, thinking incorrectly, but they think that it'll have some sort of negative repercussion, like the game will become harder or something. So I found that super fascinating, especially for a game that, ironically is about psychology and scares and stuff like that. That's such an interesting little meta mechanic came out of it. So, by the way, not a shameless plug or anything because I'm not associated with them, but that series of podcasts, the War Stories, is really, really cool. Some really awesome stuff on there.
Oh yeah, it is good. Yeah, and like I find that horror in general is some of the most innovative, gameplay elements. There's some great like horror games on GameCube that like would screw around with the actual, it would make you feel like your TV's broken or it's deleting a save on your game, and
it's really
like
cool,
that kind of stuff is so cool. All right, well, let me whip through the rest of the platforms. So on PC, probably the highlight that I identified was Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is $12 Australian on Humble Store.
Is just, that
get this game,
including the DLCs or just a base game? Okay, it's worth getting it. I never finished the DLCs, but by all accounts, amazing. So a lot.
Yeah, and they go on sale quite often anyway. So it's a great way to get into.
Can I quickly talk about the Witcher? Actually, so I don't know how much you guys already talked about it.
Well, no. Because I'm keen to get into the Hades review. So, and we have covered it quite a lot. Yeah. Oh well, yeah.
Well, I don't know. Have you guys played the Switcher though? Have you guys played the Switch version of it?
Well, you mentioned it before. That
so much stuff I got to talk about that game. Anyway, go on.
PC, right? Well, maybe some other time. But let me get through these. So PC, my highlight is that.
Yeah, you already said that. You could have just let me talk about it instead. Instead of just repeating shit, boring your audience.
Come on. With the Nintendo Switch, the highlights this week. So Overwatch there's a free trial of Overwatch. So for Nintendo Switch online subscribers, Pikmin 3 Deluxe, the demo. I've mentioned that before, but it's like well worth picking that up, and the save data carries over, which is a really important thing to do in demos. Killer Queen Black, which is like such a cult hit and just really hasn't, gained any popularity on the Switch, unfortunately. It's $2.79. This is a game I would definitely get if some of my mates would buy it. It's a multiplayer game. Okay. Well, it's really, really good game. Like I'll get it for I'll try to convince you all. I was almost tempted. Like, I don't think you can do this with Switch, unfortunately. This is the kind of game I'd buy it and then just gift it to all you guys to kind of force you to play it. And then just quickly, Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom. I'm just mentioning that 55% off because we have spoken about Monster Boy quite a lot on the podcast. PlayStation. Highlights for me, Life is Strange 2 Episode 1 is free at the moment, and Metal Gear Solid 5, the definitive edition, so the full, DLC, everything with it, is $4.99 at the moment, Australian, so 80% off, which is pretty decent. And then with Xbox, unfortunately, Swinny's not here, but there was a new addition to Game Pass, which was Superland. That's coming day one on launch on October 22nd, which is pretty sick.